morning, afternoon, evening, or night, friends, foes, and otherwise. I am the Timeline Man, Marcus Future, and today is something a little different. So I have some time-lapse footage, because Fire Alpaca has a time-lapse feature now, and I want to use it for a video. Unfortunately, that also means I have 3 minutes and 10 seconds worth of footage, which is why I'm here right now. I wanted to make a bit of an art story time type of deal, because I thought that would make some decent content with relatively minimal editing. But, again, 3 minutes and 10 seconds of footage for what was, I think like an hour in total of drawing, maybe. I don't know how that adds up. Granted, I didn't actually start from scratch on either of these drawings. Anyway, moving right along into it. There's probably gonna be a timestamp little chapter thing telling you when the drawing and story actually starts. But because there's only 3 minutes and 10 seconds of footage, if there's more than 3 minutes and 10 seconds left after that timestamp, that means you're gonna be seeing me again. Because I will be planning on finishing the story. Oh, this will be interesting. Surely. I might also just make an additional time lapse wherein I have footage for where I'm going to draw a thumbnail for this. So let's get this started, I guess. So before I get into the story, I just want to talk about what I'm drawing here in this footage. This is a time-lapse of two of my Your Character Here, which you can get from me on Ko-Fi for $5. Today, these are just examples. No one's actually bought any as of yet. So you can get these for $5. I'll draw whatever character you want under this Kotatsu. Today, it's me, Marcus Future, and Luffy from One Piece. That's what's going to be here today. Anyway, so the story here today is about the first time I went to a convention. And the first convention I went to is Nebraskon 2019, which was the last Nebraskon until 2022, I think, because of the pandemic. To set up this story, though, I will be telling you these few facts. One, I didn't have money for a hotel room in time to actually have a hotel room for this thing. Two, Nebraskon at the time was set in a hotel that was on its way out. It was not looking great. Things weren't looking great. By the time Nebraskon started up after the pandemic, the hotel didn't exist anymore. So take that as you will. And three, I was using my mom's car in order to get to and from the convention, and also because of this, it was my sleeping accommodation. So when I got there, first of all, getting to the convention, here's the real fun story. So I was still in high school in 2019, fun fact. So I was at Pep Band when the convention started. So I showed up Friday evening after Pep Band. After the first half of a football game, I sped over into Omaha from the middle of nowhere where I lived with cosplay items in my school bag. I don't want to talk about that cosplay though. Don't worry about it. I'm not really a cosplayer. I just did cosplay a couple times. I bought them. There's not much to talk about there. So by the time I got there, registration had closed, so I kind of just went back to my car and tried to sleep with, it was cold because Nebraskon was in October, and in October in Nebraska was kind of rough, and my attempts to sleep were very quickly interrupted by bright lights behind me, just shining through the back windshield. I panicked as I realized I was being towed. I was being towed and I was still in the car. So I get out of the car, and the guy in the tow truck looks at me. At this point, it's like 10:30 p.m., maybe even closer to 11. I don't know. I was half asleep. I'm like panicking because this is my mom's car. It's not my car. And he's like, yeah, you've been parked illegally here for the past multiple hours. I'm just thinking like, "Oh no, please, please, I'll just move. I'm right here. I could just move." And he's just like, this poor guy. This poor guy just sighs and rubs his temples and is like, "Oh, alright, fine. You just don't. I better not get another call about this car." I've got like, he gestures around the rest of the lot because obviously the parking situation is bad because there are people still attending the convention and there are people who are at the hotel, and the number is way too much for the parking. So then, so I was like, "Thank you." I managed to find an open spot that I assured myself was legal, and I checked my alarms. I went to sleep. Next day at the convention, I bought things at the artist alley because that's what I had money for. I had money for some prints. I think that's where I got a metal print and a model kit. My first model kit, which I threw away because I built it that badly and it was falling apart. But beyond that, I kind of didn't do much. There isn't much notable about this full day, the full Saturday of the convention, other than my dad was there in a white t-shirt and khaki pants, and people thought he was cosplaying, because he was bald. That's just a fun little factoid for you. And then, beyond that, we move into the night. This Saturday was the important thing about moving from Saturday into Sunday is it was colder than the night before, so I wanted to stay in the hotel as much as I could before going to sleep. So what I did was there were these anime screenings that were happening until 2 a.m. Now, another important fact about this date is that this is when daylight savings changed, so there were 2 1 a.m.s. Close to midnight, I peek into one of the anime screen rooms and they're showing Future Diaries, which is, for me, it's one of my favorite shows, actually. It's, I see a lot of hate towards it today, but I actually really like it. And so I sit in there and, like, it's an anime screening and everyone's, like, really silent. And that ends, like, 12:30, but after, like, the first 3 episodes, so after, like, 2 people have died. And then they move into the second thing, which was a boring world where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist. I was trying to remember the Japanese name for it, and I can't. You know, the girl with the underwear on her face. And because it's a comedy and most people have left and it's already midnight, the people who are left in the anime screen room start loosening up and we start just fucking commentating on what's going on and how ridiculous it is. Because it is. It's the world where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist. There's a lot to laugh at here. And then after that ends, we're all loose up, we're laughing. And then what starts playing on the screen next was Keijo. And at this point, it is between 1 a.m. and 1 a.m. So people are starting to look at their like clocks in the middle of this, and like at this point, it is me and 3 other dudes. And I distinctly remember this number because one of them was sat in the chair upside down, like his head was on the ground. And he's just looking at this, and we're just like, "What the hell is going on?" Because it's Keijo. If you've ever seen Keijo, I'm sorry. If you haven't, it has all of the tone of like some serious battle sports anime, I guess. But the sport is boob wrestling. And so it's just utterly ridiculous to gaze upon. And so we're just like absolutely bewildered. At one point, some guy, a furry, walks by, and because it's a reindeer, and the jaw moves, and so this guy peeks into the door and goes, "Yo, is that Keijo?" And everyone looks back at him, and everyone's like, "Reindeer jaw move." Everyone is just going absolutely batshit, absolutely wild, and so Keijo ends. And that's when I decide to leave. I don't even remember if there was any more screenings after that. But when I tell you when I left, It was like the hotel had transformed from what I'd seen during the day. During the day, it was reasonably clean. There were people playing like large-sized chess in the sort of convention center area. That was kind of interesting. But once it was at night, I saw it looked like hell had broken loose. At least to me, to my like deliriousness from going from a dark anime screening room out into a very different hotel scene from when I entered into. There were plastic cups that had just been kind of strewn about. I went to the bathroom and one of the urinals had been straight up smashed, like broken, like the ceramic was broken, and there was a bag over it that said out of order on a piece of paper on it. And there were people talking next to the urinal about like, bro, they're gonna ban us from this hotel next time. We're not gonna be able to come back. This is it. It's been so bad these past few years. But this is worse. And I was like, what happened to the past few years? But like basically, I took a piss and then I left. I went to my car and tried to keep warm and sleep for a few hours. Now, another fact that informs this next part is I didn't have a car and I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a smartphone at the time. I had a flip phone, which sounds weird because, like I said, this story takes place in 2019. But it's true. I didn't have a smartphone. I had a flip phone, which means I didn't have a GPS. So my dad tells me I have to go to work. Either you're going home now and you can follow me, or you're gonna have to find your own way home. This was like the third time I'd ever been in Omaha and had to drive home. And the first time that I had to do it without knowing where I was, because normally the other times it was places I'd been to before and could, figure out where I how to get home. So I was like, I'll follow you home. And so I didn't really see much of Sunday at that convention. Which would be a trend because Sundays at conventions I've left early on thus far. Alright, and that's the end of the story. Hey, it's me, timeline from a very different point in time after editing, in fact, to to give you this outro. First of all, this was my first time using File Alpaca's time-lapse feature. I didn't realize how much time would become how little time, so I just kinda tried to pad it with more pieces of art. So you get 3 pieces for this video, as well as a lot of time with just me wiggling around. Also, while editing, I realized that I was off-center that entire time, and that bugged me. So you get this for the outro. So I might do these again, but I probably won't use the time-lapse feature. I'll do what I did with the Echo video, wherein I just record my process using a screen record, and then speed it up a little bit. That it has, that I can control the speed a little bit more and have more time. Because speed paints probably work for people who spend more time on their drawings, and I spend about an hour on most of my drawings, and I don't really spend terribly long on anything I've drawn, which probably isn't a good thing. I need. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe out there. I'll see you again. God, I thought it'd be an easy video to edit. Oh, oh shit, that's still recording.